So I just got news that Tszyu will be ordered to face Bakhram Murtazaliev. Should be later on this year, 2024. They just ordered the final. IBF just ordered the final eliminator just now. The final eliminator was actually going to be a situation with Erickson Lubin probably stepping in. But at this time right now, with Erickson Lubin now out, the IBF is ordering Bakhram and Tszyu to face on the IBF belt, which is something that was already previously supposed to happen. I put reports out over the last year and a half, especially last year when Bakhram was already in line to face Charlo. A lot of people thought that Tszyu was going to face Charlo, but I told a lot of people that Bakhram had already had a deal signed with Charlo, and also that I put the contract out. And I don't know if the video is still available. I think it may be a members only video. I don't know, but it should be still available. But I put a lot of details as far as with Bakhram and Tszyu out last year. And Tszyu, he was a mandatory, but I think Bakhram was a mandatory longer than Tszyu was for Charlo. So with these two guys lining up to fight, this is something that should have happened already. I was expecting Bakhram to actually. Tszyu already tried to fight Bakhram. So I'm gonna be real with you. That falls on Bakhram's part, because one thing I respect about Tszyu, he hasn't really wasted any time kind of putting these fights together when they show up. When Bakhram showed up, he said, okay, we can put something together. Bakhram's like, nah, I ain't trying to make the fight. So he went with Tony Harrison. Tony Harrison was a replacement for Bakhram. Bakhram waiting on Charlo. So when Charlo drops the belt, Tszyu like, hey, we can fight each other. He goes in a whole nother direction. And then Tszyu already knew he was trying to fight this guy, and it wasn't going through. So it wasn't like he had to go around and chase and do all this other stuff with other people. And really, Tszyu right now, he's a big fight still. He's still lining up fights. Bakhram's finding himself in a position where at 154, these guys aren't trying to wait around and figure out what he's doing. He's already had the belt for a short period of time. I'm pretty sure they already know that Tszyu and Bakhram had already had discussions and negotiations and everything else, or talks about actually being involved with a fight. Their fight is, I guess, about 2 years almost overdue. They were supposed to fight 2 years ago, almost, a year and a half. That's a long time, man. And for Bakhram, he only fought, what, Jack Koke? In that last fight he had, I think that fight was in March, I would say. If it wasn't March, it was February. But I would like to lean toward March, I think, for that fight. But it was a very good opportunity for Bakhram to take. But with Tszyu, man, I got to respect him, man, for real. Like, I'm not a bandwagon guy. I'm not a fan of just certain people. I'm a fan of just people trying to be honest and grow the sport. A guy like Tszyu is growing the sport. I know a lot of people might think I'm talking down on Eastside Cruz. Well, no, he helps grow the sport too. He's jumping in big fight from big fight. So that keeps you kind of relevant in the sport of boxing. It helped grow the sport of boxing. We need more Tszyus walking around right now, which is something that's starting to happen. I feel like Tszyu actually put that image out there to where he got his respect by actually fighting. And a lot of fighters don't notice that. They feel like you got to build your personality online. And Tszyu, he don't really do the rah-rah and, well, I can beat this guy, that guy. He don't do that online. And, you know, that's still respected these days, especially with me. Liam Paro ain't had to do that. He did it a couple times, but it was just interviews. So a lot of guys don't really got to do the rah-rah stuff when it comes to boxing. But with the guy Bakhram, he was definitely saying guys were scared. I think he was saying like Tszyu was scared or something like that. Come on, man, cut it out. So, yeah, I think Tszyu needs that fight right now. And that'll be a good fight to line up to get Tszyu in a super fight with Terrence Crawford. I think a fight with Tszyu and Terrence Crawford would be an excellent fight. And that's something that a lot of people are actually looking for. And with Tszyu possibly setting up a super fight with Terrence Crawford, that's going to put him in a position where he could be a big-time name, win or lose. I mean, it's a new day of boxing. I don't know if people realize that, but I don't really hang up on the losses. I just don't like the favoritism in boxing where people try to cling on to a name like we don't have other fighters that's doing the same thing as other guys. But Tszyu, he's respected around here. Whether he lost the fight to Fundora or not, still respected. I feel like he's still a top fighter. Just like when Fundora lost to Mendoza, still felt like he was a top fighter when he jumped in the Tszyu fight. So yeah, those guys are helping grow the sport. If Bakhram is not going to get in the role like Tszyu is doing, which from what I've seen, he hasn't been. I know he has a team and a country behind him and everything else, so he has responsibilities. But Tszyu also has that, and he's full force into what he's trying to do. He's tried to put many fights together with a lot of people, big name guys who say people don't want to fight them, and it just hasn't went through. So I definitely respect what's going on with the IBF doing right now. IBF has been stripping a lot of people, but they're trying to make sure that other fights get made, and trying to look out for these younger guys too. These younger guys are trying to put themselves in a position where they can be great. A lot of these guys want to be a legend. They're worried about legacy more than money. Money does matter, but a lot of these guys are looking at legacy now. They don't want to be like the generation before where people, after the Mayweather era, everybody wants to have a payday and a pay-per-view. And now they feel like, well, it's not that valuable. It's not. It looks like it glitters like gold, it's glitter like gold, but it ain't gonna work, man. It ain't gonna work. Everything that's glitter is not gold. It's not gonna work. Like, you got to build a legacy, and I feel like a couple of guys with Tszyu leading the way and showing that a lot of these things are going to end up lining up eventually perfectly. And I can see it coming. But that's all I got. Like and subscribe.